Okay, so I'm watching one of my own videos. Again, this is what a conversation I had with AI. Um, and I'm gonna walk you through this. I get to this point here.
This is the consistent finding, lots and lots in these nomadic pastoralists are the ones who came up with warfare of a certain level and warrior classes. Close quote. Robert Sapolsky, Stanford University, Lecture 20, Aggression, number 4, February 1st, 2011. Yes. Introducing the pastoralist into this thread adds another crucial gear in the great psychic machinery of cultural evolution. You've landed on the exact pressure point. When pastoralist culture fuses with the hot medium, it sets the stage for the corporate state. Let's walk it through step by step. Number 1, the triad of human economies: cool medium, right hemisphere.
Okay, I got confused, so I was pausing the wrong thing. I was pausing the screen recording. I wanted to pause this. My whole point, hopefully, because I don't know what actually when I paused it. It was within a second. But my point was to stop it at number one, the triad of human economies, because the significance of that is I just realized this, and because the way I do this is I go through the conversation, and it's a typing format conversation. So I type, and then it goes through, and generally I let it read out loud, and I read along with it. That, I'm not gonna say that's not 100% of the time, but it's like 75% of the time minimum, not average, minimum. In which, even though it's reading it, scanning, I'm reading it. It's reading it out loud. I'm reading it visually along with it. Um, Unless something gets me distracted or something like that. But then afterwards, when I make the video, then it go through a second time already, in which I read my part and then let it read its part for the sake of any potential audience without me saying anything. But also during that process, I'm going through it again. And very frequently, once I finally post it, I will review it in one full time on my TV just for the experience. And like currently right now, I'm watching this one on my TV because I was just I felt like what do you call it, like checking my references. I consider these uh, a type of personal encyclopedia. So that I don't know, I'm learning from. And so this conversation is about media, but as you see, monotheism. So it has a lot to do with well, here we got the Republic, and then we get into religion, Abrahamic monotheism, and but my whole point, here we go, planter myths. Okay, so this is the thing. Um, oh, the quote. There's a quote in here. Oh, I'll just bring these up. I'm gonna take you over here anyways. Might as well just go. So this one is planter. Here we go. So this then is to be our first distinction between the mythologies of hunters and those of planters. The accent of the planting rights is on the group, that of the hunters, rather. on the individual. Among the hunters, we have the people, the deer people, who bow to one another politely, like brothers-in-laws, like brothers-in-law. But we have comparatively little personal power. Close quote. The Mask of God, Primitive Mythology, Joseph Campbell, 1991, Part 3, Chapter 5, Shamanism. And, quote, human sacrifice, such as found in the plant-dominated domain, identification of human destiny model of the vegetation world, we do not find among hunters unless there has been some very strong influence from the other zone. The proper sacrifice for the hunter is the animal itself. Okay? So, my point is, the conversation has been on mythology. And then, where is this timing at? 26 minutes on that dot, huh? So right here.
Planter, hot medium, left hemisphere collectivization, sedentary agricultural encounter with the new one. The triad of human economies.
Okay. So this has to be, my whole point is this has to be at least the fourth time I'm going through this. And this is one of the reasons I do this kind of thing, is because I realized that what AI just did is maybe mistakenly or revelatory, revelation, revelatory, something like that, like revealing, apocalyptically. The word apocalypse means to uncover. Um, the fucking crazy fucking shit that economics is modern mythology. So I'm gonna fuck with you right here too because, oh, going back to this, Friedman, I think his name is Friedman. Yes. There's a couple Friedmans I got here, so. Here we go. It's coming around. Oh, here we go. Okay, so, quote, I prefer to define economics as a particular way of understanding behavior. What are commonly thought of as economic questions are simply questions for which this way of understanding behavior has proved particularly useful in the past. Economics is the way of understanding behavior that starts from the assumption that people have objectives and tend to choose the correct way to achieve them. The second half of the assumption that people tend to find the correct way to achieve their objectives is called rationality. This term is somewhat deceptive since it suggests that the way in which people find the correct way to achieve their objectives is by rational analysis, analyzing evidence using formal logic to deduce conclusions from assumptions, and so forth. No such assumption about how people find the correct means to achieve their ends is necessary. One can imagine a variety of other explanations for rational behavior. To take a trivial example, most of our objectives require that we eat occasionally so as not to die of hunger. Exception if my objective is to be fertilizer. Whether or not people have deduced this fact by logical analysis, those who do not choose to eat are not around to have their behavior analyzed by economists. More generally, evolution may produce people and other animals who behave rationally without knowing why. The same result may be produced by a process of trial and error. If you walk to work every day, you may by experiment find the shortest route even if you do not know enough geometry to calculate it. Rationality is, in this sense, does not necessarily require thought. In the final section of this chapter, I give two examples of things that have no minds and yet exhibit rationality. Close quote. Price theory and intermediate text. David D. Friedman. Price theory and intermediate text. Oh, I doubled that up. I gotta get rid of that. Where's it at? So I hope you see what I'm doing here. Okay, David D. Friedman, Section 1, Economics for Pleasure and Profit, Chapter 1, What is Economics? Now, what gets into this guy is just over here. Oh no, this is not the right one. Ugh. I think I hate this guy. D. This guy. So he's probably most famous for price theory. I thought he wrote something on game theory. The machinery of freedom, price theory. Oh, really? Price theory. Oh, 1990. Oh, damn. Well, might as well just ask. Game. Oh, game theory books. Oh, so that's funny too, because that means that when I was looking up game theory, um, theory of games and economic behavior. Oh, look at this is kind of interesting. This is getting into this what I was just talking about. So, yeah, we'll give you one more for myth, and you can compare to economies. Remember how they said it, okay? I already passed it. Oh no. For myth is the instant vision of a complex process that ordinarily extends over a long period. Myth is contraction or implosion of any process, and the instant speed of electricity confers the mythic dimension on ordinary industrial and social action today. We live mythically, but continue to think fragmentarily and on single planes. Close quote. Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man, Marshall McLuhan, 1964, Chapter 2, Hot Media and Cold Media. And while reading this, that made me think of, what the heck did I think of? Implosion, extend, what was the word? That clicked my, contraction. Contraction. So back over here. Contract. My favorite one. Oh, where did it go? Did it move? Because I use it? Oh, yeah. Funny. Okay. Oh, no, that's not it. This is it. All right. So, okay. All right. What's that right there? Isn't that what you guys all say? Frees you, unbinds you. Isn't freedom unbinding, unchaining you, unrestraining you, right? That's your sacred, what is that? Your sacred constitution, as you call it. That document, that paper. Okay. This is my own little note, but this is a note from a book. I have this book, but I couldn't find this second edition, so I don't have these exact definitions in it. Which I'm glad I copied these from this book is in the downtown library, Central Library of Los Angeles. Contract, noun, 1, natural law, sense, a free and mutual agreement between two or more competent parties to the transfer of a right or the exchange of rights. You guys think it's about property, about stuff, or about work, labor, and wages. You don't understand. They're dealing in rights, you're dealing in materials. The consent of two or more juridically capable persons to the same juridical effect. Again, you're competent enough to be what English common law designates as a reasonable creature, which also infers by definition of all legal theories and all legal systems that if there is a defined reasonable creature, there is automatically and irrefutably a definition for an unreasonable creature. Whether that is published or acknowledged is a revelatory fact of its own because it exhibits intent. And it must be understood. Well, I'm just kind of tricky because the Buddha used deception. I wanted to say all deception is, but then I'm switching up in order to conform my words to his because I don't want to call him bad. And using trickery with children is very constructive and helpful for them. I mean, obviously with the intent. So okay, anyways, to civil law, sense, an agreement, promise. Oh yeah, here you go. This is what you guys think of. Or set of promises, usually written and enforceable at law. See consideration. 3. A document or set of documents attesting such a consent to transfer. A consent to transfer. This is a consent to transfer your right to govern yourself. Right? Because that's fair trade. In order to participate in, be protected by this contract, according to this definition, a document or set of documents attesting such a consent to transfer, you identify this as your bastion of freedom. That is a contract that you consent to transfer. Transfer what? Natural law sense, a free and mutual agreement between two or more competent parties to transfer of a right or the exchange of rights. So the right to govern is transferred to the governing corporation, which you think of as different from any other different corporation that is motivated by nothing more than self-preservation and perpetual expansion, or inflation, at least one or the other, both. Okay, so we're not done with that because here's more. Contraction. Noun 1, the mental act of restricting the extension of a transcendental or universal concept or term to a class or individual member contained within the wider concept or term. 2. Nikolai of Cusa, 1401 to 1464, the real narrowing or limiting of a universal form or essence to the genus, species, or individual in which it exists. Close quote. A Dictionary of Scholastic Philosophy, Bernard Wooler, S.J., 1966, second edition. So, where did I get this? Or contraction. Myth is a contraction or implosion of any process. And that instant speed of electricity and the instant speed of electricity confers the mythic dimension on ordinary industrial and social action today. We live mythically. We live mythically. What are we doing here in this exercise? We're juxtaposing mythology with economy. So mythically, economically, we live economically, but continue to think fragmentarily. That almost sounds like capitalism. Competitive, the very use, the very application, the very fact that you are brainwashed by English people to use the word race in the context that is competitive, non-cooperative, um, like I don't know, some kind of win-loss thing game. One thing, a game theory, it gets involved in that thing too. Um, Dang, I lost that economy. Oh, race. Yeah, competition with rules and clearly defined rules and on the track and shit like that. With a start and a finish. All of these are concepts. This is how language works. Just because you're so exhausted, you only fuck around with it on the most superficial level doesn't mean that it's as meaningless and empty as your life. If you need to find meaning in your life, maybe you need to start find meaning in other stuff. And maybe you should start finding meaning in the very language you use to define yourself, how you feel, and what you think. Period. Because perhaps while you're trying to say something, but you're using the superficial language of English, you might be actually expressing, and you don't get that. You don't get that there's a like water, a force, the way water is around fish. There's some type of fucking substance around us that is consciousness. And we exist in it. And this is the I'm sorry, unconsciousness. Um, and this is the language of the unconscious. And that's what I'm trying to say is, what is this guy? Oh, let me see another. It's mhm. Oh, here's a good one. Yeah. Here's a good one. In the Anglosphere, and especially in America, many believed that the liberties of the Anglo-Saxons had been destroyed by the Norman conquest of 1066. Note 14, footnote 14. C.E.G. David Hume, One History of England. All that bullshit. Quote, it would be difficult to find in all history a revolution more destructive or attended with a more complete subjection of the antient, anti Greek, ethnikos, Gentile. Webster's, 1943, inhabitants. So what are they saying? Anti-Greek ethnic Gentiles? Anti-ethnikos? Subjection of the anti-ethnicos inhabitants. I don't know. ID. At 437, the majority of Anglo-Saxons were reduced to a state of real slavery. Forrest MacDonald, Novus Aurum Seclorum, The Intellectual Origins of the Constitution, 76 to 77, 1985, noting influence of the Norman yoke in American Revolution ideology, Charles Wright and Kenneth W. Graham, Jr., Federal Practice and Procedure, Section 6342, at, and I don't know what the fuck that is. At noun? I don't think it would be noun. God damn. Look at that. Subsection 6342. Jesus Christ. 80 to 170. Summarizing the common view of Americans and of English Whigs about the imposition of the Norman yoke in 1066. Close quote. The Posse Comitatus and the Office of Sheriff, Armed Citizens Summoned to the Aid of Law Enforcement. David B. Koppel, 2015. So mythologies are economies. So mythologies are economies. And it could be wrong, but in the meantime, I will probe this, toss it around, so to speak, play with it for a bit and see if I can develop it or if I end up just forgetting it. You know, I got the next 3 days off. I'm just gonna lay around, watch a bunch of content, and smoke weed. So who knows? By the time Tuesday comes around and I head back to work, I might not even care. But which doesn't mean that it's not potentially real, whatever real that could mean, anyways. But even if it is real, it's not my responsibility to fucking prove it. If it's real, it's fucking real. Proving reality to people is, by definition, crazy. Because if you're going through the act of proving reality to them, yeah, that's you're by definition crazy. Because you're admitting in you're claiming or admitting in one sense that they do not have the ability to perceive reality, and you have a 1% idea that you think in the course of whatever minuscule conversation you intend to have with them, uh, you're going to transcend the entirety of their perception of existence and inject a smidgen of reality into their cosmos of delusional insanity. And that's going to change something. So, um, if it were really the case that men could be deprived of their natural rights so utterly as to never have any further influence on affairs except with the permission of the holders of the sovereign right, it would then be possible to maintain with impunity the most violent tyranny, which I suppose not one would for an instant admit. Close quote. Chief Works of Benedict. Oh, you know what? And man, you know what that one brings me to? Wow, I don't have it here. This is an awesome one. Let me see. Rich man, poor man. Okay, here we go. Maybe this one. Ah. Oh, I can do this. I think conversation was deleted accidentally. No link. Oh, that's fine. I can do this now. Hello, McFly. go over here. Put it in here. Booyah. Booyah.
ChatGPT. Absolutely. Inverting Thoreau's statement to replace the rich man with the poor man and makes him rich with keeps him poor creates a powerful commentary on systemic inequities and the interdependent relationship between poverty and institutions. Here's how this inversion could work.
I guess I gotta show you the quote first because that doesn't make sense. Okay. Oh, let me just do this. I don't have it. That's why I should use pause more often. Okay, I gotta go over here again and try and help me find. Okay, possibly notes beyond use. Notes beyond use. Which one is it here? Notes beyond use. Notes beyond use. Okay, and about here. Yeah. Okay. I'm not keeping this, but I just want you to see it. So this quote here, I consider myself to be a student of Henry David Thoreau. Is a very significant figure in cracking my psyche open, so I consider him a personal guru. This is from the essay that I've imbibed through audio or reading over 4,000 times in my life, which is most commonly called Civil Disobedience in totality. The Rich Man, not to make any video, and just to show you how fucked up my memory is, I have like maybe 2 sentences memorized from it. Always, the rich man, not to make any invidious comparisons, is always sold to institutions that makes him rich. H.D. Thoreau, Civil Disobedience. So, as a student, somebody that wants to generate proof of appreciation towards my guru, who even though it doesn't matter to him because he's dead, but just as an example, kind of like a Sith example, like an anti-Sith, I want to prove his statement to be so phenomenally accurate that it is true even if you invert it. And that brings us to this.
ChatGPT. Absolutely. Inverting Thoreau's statement to replace the rich man with the poor man and makes him rich with keeps him poor creates a powerful commentary on systemic inequities and the interdependent relationship between poverty and institutions. Here's how this inversion could work. Dash dash dash. The poor man is always sold to the institution that keeps him
We're
poor.
dealing with economics and
1.
mythology.
Dependency on oppressive systems. The poor man is bound to institutions, government, corporations, or social hierarchies that reinforce his poverty. These systems perpetuate low wages, exploit labor, or limit access to education and resources, keeping the poor trapped in a cycle of dependency. 2. Structural exploitation. The institution benefits from the existence of poverty. For example, cheap labor underpins profits. Welfare systems may placate unrest but never address root causes, ensuring the poor remain a manageable class. 3. Loss of autonomy. The poor man's reliance on these systems for survival, through low-paying jobs, inadequate healthcare, or restrictive social programs, compromises his ability to challenge or escape them. His will is shaped by necessity, just as the rich man's will is shaped by wealth. Dash dash dash. The two-way relationship. If we examine this inverted statement in light of Thoreau's original observation, it remains true both ways. 1. Institutions are also dependent on the poor. Institutions rely on the existence of poverty to sustain themselves. For example, consumer economies depend on low-cost labor. Political systems often use poverty as a tool to consolidate power, offering just enough support to ensure compliance while perpetuating the very conditions that necessitate such support. 2. The poor are shaped by institutions. Conversely, the poor man's worldview and actions are molded by these institutions. He may internalize the narrative that his poverty is a personal failing rather than the result of systemic inequities, reinforcing his compliance. The ethical call to action. Thoreau's insight, whether applied to the rich man, the poor man, or both, demands a reckoning with these cycles of dependency. To break free requires 1. Awareness, recognizing the ways institutions shape individual lives, whether through wealth or poverty. 2. Resistance, choosing self-reliance, solidarity, or civil disobedience to challenge systemic inequities. 3. Reform, advocating for systems that empower rather than exploit. By inverting Thoreau's statement, you've drawn attention to the reciprocal nature of systemic oppression. Would you like to explore this further in historical, philosophical, or practical terms? Conversation was deleted accidentally, no link.
Yeah, that was because what I ended up doing is I had a typo like at the top when my question to this had a typo, and I wanted to make the video like I talked about, and I thought, well, you know what? For visual, let me fix that typo. And when I fixed the typo and submitted it, it redid the conversation. It did a new prompt. It did a new response, and then the rest of the conversation that existed after that whole thing got deleted because it was a completed conversation. And so, but I thought it was really good, and I think I gave up. But so what are we doing here? We're talking about economy as mythology, and we're seeing this here. Obviously, we're gonna have a problem with he may internalize a narrative that his poverty is a personal failing rather than the result of but you see you're gonna try to rationalize that out by saying people aren't stupid, they know that the system is rigged. Because look at, I know that the system is rigged, but you don't know the system is rigged because you passively participate in it. So if it is rigged, the crux of this entire fucking fascist system is that it's rigged by you. Because I showed you, you transferred your right to them to govern. What is a governor? Let's just do that real quick. Oh, actually, I could do this one. I like this. Hello, governor. Hello, governor. Governor. All right, 1300. Oh, can I do this? Oh, this. Stupid ass. What happened to my government? Okay. Get out of there. Can't do that. Never mind. Governor, noun, circa 1300. Guanur, personal keeper, protector, guide, late 14th century. One who governs, a ruler, from Old French, gouverneur, prince, ruler, administrator, helmsman. Helmsman. Get that one. Helmsman. Helmsman. 11th century modern French, gouverneur, and directly from Latin, gubernatorum. Gubernatorem. Nominative, gubernator, director, ruler, governor, originally steersman, pilot, sea, govern, meaning subordinate, ruler, head of a province, etc., is from late 14th century, meaning one charged with direction or control of an institution, etc., is the late 14th century mechanical sense of self-acting regulator, is from 1819. The adjective gubernatorial remembers the Latin form. There is a record of English governator from the 1520s. Govern, late 13th century, to rule with authority, from Old French govern, to steer at the helms. Okay? That's pretty cool. You like that? How about I fuck with your head a little bit here, just on a fly? What word do you think is most closely related to govern? Watch this. Cyber, word forming element, ultimately from cybernetics. Watch that. See that? Cybernetics? It enjoyed explosive use with the rise of the internet early 1990s. One researcher, Nagel, counted 104 words formed from it by 1994. Cyberpunk by 1986 and cyberspace by 1984 were among the earliest. The OED second edition, the Oxford English Dictionary second edition, 1989, has only cybernetics and its related forms and cybernation, theory, practice, or condition of control by machines, 1962. Okay? Cyber is such a perfect prefix because nobody has any idea what it means. It can be grafted onto any word to make it sound new and cool and therefore strange and spooky. New York Magazine, okay? As a standalone noun, cyber is attested by 1989 as a short for cybersex, which is attested by 1995. Okay, cybersex, that's very interesting. Okay, cybernetics, theory of study of communications and control, coined in 1948 by U.S. mathematician Norbert Wiener, 1894 to 1964. Okay, cyberspace. Okay, so you got that right. How about let me? I thought it was gonna be different, so I'm gonna have to come over here and hit you up with my cyber. Alrighty, and this is DeepSeek anyways, which wouldn't read it, so I'd have to go back over here.
DeepSeek. The word cyber derives from the Greek kybernetes meaning steersman or pilot, and is linked to governance and control as in cybernetics. While Latin has no direct equivalent, we can construct a conceptual Latin parallel using its own lexicon of control, navigation, and mechanized systems. Here's how. -1. Possible Latin equivalents for cyber. A. Gubernator from guberno, to steer, govern. Y. The Latin gubernator is a direct cognate of Greek kybernetes, both from pi *ku, to bend, turn. Usage. Machina gubernans equals governing machine, analogous to cybernetic system. Ratio gubernatrix equals pilot logic, like AI control. B. Regulator from regula, rule. Y. Emphasizes the control aspect of cyber. Usage. Regulator automatus equals automatic regulator, a robotic governor. C. Cursor from curro, to run. Y. For the speed and data flow of digital systems. Usage. Cursus electronicus equals electronic runner, a data packet. D. Machinator from machina, machine. Y. For the constructed nature of cyber realms. Usage. Machinator virtualis equals virtual machinist, a programmer or bot. E. Nauta digitalis playful Neo-Latin. Y. Digital sailor, evokes navigating the sea of data. -2. Why Latin never had a cyber. The Romans lacked abstract tech terms, but their words for control gubernatio networks rete and mechanics machina map loosely. Rete gubernatum equals governed net, a cybernetic network. Anima machinalis equals machine soul, AI. -3. A cyber Latin thought experiment. If Latin had a word for cyber, it might blend. Gubernetica cybernetics. Virtualis virtual right pointing arrow mundus virtualis cyberspace. Automatus automaton, right pointing arrow automatus rationalis, thinking machine. -4. Best fits for modern usage. Concept Latin approximation. Cyberspace mundus gubernatus. Cybersecurity securitas machinalis. Cybernetic gubernaticus. AI artificialis intelligentia. Conclusion. While Latin has no exact, cyber, its vocabulary of steering, ruling, and machinery offers poetic analogues, proof that even ancient tongues can navigate digital ideas. Want to coin a new Latin tech term? Or explore digital in church Latin?
So I don't remember what I did with that conversation, but hey, why don't we just check that out? Because didn't I have DeepSeek up? Yes. And that was cyber. Oh, I can't search that one. Did that tell me what the name was? Something cyber, that's over here. Media consciousness, dancing trubs. Cerberus. Well, dang, what the cyber. Something to do with language. Something to do with language. I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so that was great freestyle. So I'm on cyber. And what did I do at the bottom of this? Maybe that's what I want to get. So, no, that's not it. Oh, okay, maybe this right here. Okay, so in a Jungian sense, human society assimilates the need for not being alone with the need for a sense of control to calculate how to formulate laws that synthesize these rather than amplifies them. Okay, copy this.
Jungian society, between loneliness and control. Yes, human civilization, in a Jungian sense, is a collective psyche wrestling with two primal needs. 1. The need to not be alone, eros, connection, the abode of song. 2. The need to control, logos, order, the Euclidean grid. Laws, myths, and institutions arise as synthesizing mechanisms, but they often amplify the tension instead of resolving it. Here's how it breaks down. 1. The shadow of loneliness.
Remember,
Desire for
economies.
belonging. The terror of isolation drives humans to project unity onto tribes, gods, and laws. Vesta's hearth equals the illusion of shared warmth. Democratia equals the fantasy of consensus. Jung's insight. This is the collective anima, the psyche's longing for fusion. Risk. If denied, it erupts as nationalism or cultic frenzy, the shadow's revenge. 2. The tyranny of control. Desire for predictability. The ego demands laws to domesticate chaos. Blackstone's God equals the superego's freeze ray. Lippmann's public philosophy equals the delusion that reason can tame the mob. Jung's warning. Over-control breeds collective possession by the umbra, e.g., fascism masquerading as order. Risk. If absolute, it becomes soulless machinery, the reed is a cage. 3. The synthesis when it works. Healthy societies ritualize the tension. Courts as temples. Trials channel umbra, vengeance into logos, justice. Myths as mediators. Stories like the potter and the lawgiver hold both impulses in play. Fire and ice. Vesta's flame equals the unstoppable id. Euclidean law equals the ego's desperate dam. Latin formula. Societas sana. Umbram canta, ignum legislat. A healthy society sings its shadow, legislates its fire. 4. The amplification when it fails. Most states inflame the conflict. Denying the shadow. Laws that ignore Liberaticus shadowed freedom spark revolts. Smothering the fire. Bureaucracies that extinguish Vesta's hearth become corpses of reason. Example. Blackstone's divine law worked while England believed in God. Now, the projection collapsed, leaving only the ice, hence modern law feels alienating. Dash dash dash. Conclusion. The tightrope. Human society is a high wire act between chaos, the terror of abandonment, control, the terror of suffocation. The wisest laws don't resolve this, they dance with it. Want to design a Jungian constitution, or explore the umbra of AI governance?
So I think with that, I'm good to close and just, I guess, maybe get this one last time.
Hunter. Cool medium. That's the stage for the corporate state. Let's walk it through step by step. Nub 1. The triad of human economies.
Oh, yeah. Number one, triad of human economies, which also happens to be the triad of human mythologies. So I'm sure that that's just because the number three is just a number and three doesn't even really exist. And there are all kinds of threes. There are three brake lights on cars. Does that mean anything? There are three lights on traffic lights. Does that mean anything? There are three wheels on a tricycle. Does that mean anything? No. So the fact that anthropology and what you guys consider to be the height of academia has cataloged the sum of human thought into three mythologies that happen to map onto three types of economies that happen to relate to modern corporate society. Obviously is irrelevant.